Hands can do incredible things. Now they can even help save a life with hands-only CPR. If you see an adult suddenly collapse, just call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Learn more at handsonlycpr.org.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Fay on the weekly program here on LSN Time Warner right out of Lancaster. And we're also carried by a couple of our radio affiliates here in Fairfield County. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week when we talk about things happening in Fairfield County. And we talk a lot of things within the law enforcement community. And occasionally we have guests from outside the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. This week is no exception. We have with us Sgt David Pollock with the Millersport Police Department. And if you missed last week's program, we're going to talk about senior safety and things to do and remember if you're a senior citizen or you have a family member. A lot of good information. And how did you kind of get involved with senior safety?
Well, thank you for having me on, Sheriff. It's just something that I kind of took an interest in. It's an area of law enforcement that seems to be getting a lot of attention now, which is good. A lot more resources are being put towards it. Currently, seniors, they make up about 15% of the population, but they end up being involved in about 30% of fraud complaints and financial exploitation, which is about twice the average for any other demographic. So, and that senior demographic is getting larger and larger. So it's definitely something that's going to continue to be an issue as we go forward.
Why do you think that seniors are more vulnerable?
Well, there's several reasons. Seniors generally they own their own home. They generally have good credit. They've built up savings over time. So unfortunately, scammers look at that as, well, they're in a position where I can get cash out of them. You know, they're not going to have to finance things. You know, they'll be able to fork over cash. Also, they're a lot of times they can be isolated.
Yeah.
They can be kind of lonely, which
right.
The criminals will kind of psychologically manipulate that fact. And unfortunately, you know, as people get older, sometimes their memory's not so great. Their mental faculties might start to decline. So that makes them a little bit of an easier target. Because as I'm sure you know, the criminal element, the predator's looking for the easiest prey.
Right.
And you know, as despicable as it sounds, the seniors are they're an easier prey than some other demographics.
What would be the type of scam that a senior citizen would want to be aware of?
Well, there's several, and as bad as the crimes against seniors are, what makes it even worse is that in usually a little over half the cases when there's some type of exploitation of seniors, and most of the time, a lot of times it's somebody that they know. It's a family member.
Wow.
Basically, they break it down into two types of perpetrators against the seniors. You've got the familial, which is could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be somebody who's in a position of like a financial advisor or a caregiver over them, and then you've got the strangers, and that generally will involve like telemarketing scams or home repair scams.
Right. Yeah, I know a few years ago we had a situation in our county where a individual came to the house of a senior and said, we have some product left over where we coat driveways, and they went ahead and coated the driveway, and when it rained, it just kind of washed off. We found it was like used motor oil. So we have seen a couple of those type of situations. So you have typically someone that knows the victim, and then the other side of it, someone knocks on the door and says, we do home repairs.
Right. The home repairs are a big problem, especially this time of year. As I'm sure you're aware, recently in the news has come up a group called the Circleville 30.
Right.
They were doing this exactly as you described, doing the home repair scams, which there's several variations on that. As you mentioned, they'll basically spray a little bit of tar mixed with water and to seal the driveway. And first time it rains, it washes all off. Or they'll say, hey, we're working on a roof down the street. Your roof looks like it's about to cave in. We can give you a great deal. And or they'll spray some water around the edge of the house and say, oh, your basement's leaking. And this group, the Circleville 30, they did this back about 10 years ago, involving multiple victims, tens of thousands of dollars. Ended up going to prison. They got out of prison, went right back to doing what they know best. So one thing, as far as the home repair scams go, the best thing to do is be very wary of any type of unsolicited repair that may be offered to you. And the law states that you have a 72-hour period. If you enter into any type of contract with somebody and it's over $25, you have a 72-hour period where you can cancel that contract. So if they want to begin work right away, that can be a red flag. So you can take that time to get things in writing, carefully review it. You can check with the Ohio Attorney General's office. You can check with the Better Business Bureau. Just really do some really good due diligence. And if it's a reputable company, they'll be happy to provide you with whatever information that you're asking for.
Right.
And if it's somebody that's trying to pull a scam, they're going to want to rush you into forking over some money right away.
How important is it to have references when someone comes out to your home to do any kind of work?
That's very important. And like I said, there's several avenues out there where you can verify whether somebody's a legitimate company or not.
Let's talk just a little bit, when we talk about senior citizens, what about like personal safety? When they're out about, they're at the mall, they're going to the store, are there some things the seniors can do to help protect themselves?
The biggest thing is just being aware. I would recommend that seniors carry the least that they need in their wallet or purse.
Okay.
Especially, you shouldn't carry around your Social Security card. You shouldn't carry around your Medicaid card. A limited amount of cash, maybe one credit card. And you should also, it's a good idea to photocopy anything that you have in your wallet and keep that at home. So if it is stolen, you know what's stolen and who to contact.
Well, good. I often have thought today with our keys, they almost act as an alarm system. So if you're walking out to your car or something, if you have this ready and something would happen, you can go ahead and hit that panic button and set off the car alarm.
Right, that's a good idea.
So when we talk about they represent about 30% of all the types of scams that take place. What should a family member do if they think that their their parent or a relative's being scammed?
Well, that's a great question because, as I mentioned earlier, probably the key that allows a lot of these scams to go through is the isolation factor. So if other family members or friends or acquaintances can look out and look for some telltale signs as far as elderly people, then that can really ward off a lot of this fraud. One very good thing for family members to do is for everybody in the family to get together, and when it concerns like an elderly parent or relative, and decide as far as if something were to happen to that person and they were incapacitated, who's going to handle their affairs? Maybe establish a power of attorney before anything happens, because unfortunately in a lot of these cases, when somebody has become incapacitated or their health is failing, they're not in a position to where they can make clear judgment decisions, that's when somebody will move in. And there's been cases to where people have duped a victim into signing over a deed to their home, or they get power of attorney, and so the victim ends up the home that they've lived in and they own free and clear, that they've lived in for 30, 40, 50 years. One day they get a foreclosure notice and they find out they don't own the home anymore because somebody got the power of attorney, transferred it over, used that home to get loan collateral or second mortgage, and basically stole the home out from underneath them. Some other things are if, say, a family member that never really had much interest in this person before all of a sudden takes a very keen interest in them and is spending a lot of time over there, you may want to question what's going on, especially if they try to isolate that person and want to handle everything in regards to that person. If you're over at the person's house and you notice that they're getting a large volume of telephone solicitations or mail solicitations, that can be a key that maybe they've fallen victim to some type of fraud. Because what will happen is that these scammers will buy and sell lists of victims that they've perpetrated frauds against, because they know that that's an easy mark. So if you fall victim to one scam, chances are you're going to have another one and another one and another one coming at you.
So these are multiple victims sometimes that they just keep going back on.
And a lot of times the victim won't want to report that to the authorities because they feel a lot of shame or embarrassment about it. Also, they may sometimes elderly people may worry that if their family member knows that they were taken advantage of financially, that the family may think, oh well, they're not capable of handling their affairs anymore, and that the elderly person worries about losing their independence. But unfortunately, the crimes against seniors is a very, very underreported crime. The American Association of Retired People estimate that for about 84% of the crimes against seniors go unreported.
Wow, I had no idea. That's amazing.
And they also estimated that there was a study done by Metlife, the insurer, in 2011, where they estimated that the financial cost of these scams to seniors was over $2.6 billion. So, and that's what we know of. So I would certainly encourage anybody that if they have been a victim of some type of fraud or scam, to definitely report that to the local authorities, report that to the Attorney General's office, because the more that as in the case with the Circleville 30, reports come in from multiple sources, different people in different areas, that this type of activity is going on, then that allows law enforcement to put the pieces of the puzzle together and then issue a news release or something like that to get the word out.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And I guess the other thing, if a child had a parent that they thought was being scammed, something was going on, they can go ahead and report that for the parent, right?
Correct.
And they'll work together as far as law enforcement and that individual to kind of work toward that, even if the victim doesn't want to make a report. Right,
and a lot of times, like we mentioned earlier, the scammers will really prey emotionally on the victim. The word con man comes from confidence man, because the victim has confidence in this person.
Right.
And a lot of times when it comes out, the victim, more so than the financial loss, they're emotionally devastated because they thought this person was their friend, or it's a family member that they trusted. Yeah. So that's really hard for them.
Yeah, that's very, very tough. I had a situation where they had a grandson was living with his grandmother, and there was some, he was taking things and getting into the account and doing those kind of things. And I would think that when you talk about being a senior and you have a certain amount of isolation and loneliness, that there are certainly the predators that maybe want to develop some kind of a romantic relationship with the individuals to get to their money.
Yes, we've seen that on several occasions. There'll be solicitations over the internet. There was a case out of Columbus, involved a gentleman named Peter Svaldi. He was one of the original brewmasters at the Anheuser-Busch plant, and he was very hard worker. Lived very modestly, saved up for a long period of time, and he met these two women that lived in his building, and they befriended him and made him feel really special, and ended up they duped him into giving them power of attorney, and they just went out and bought all kinds of jewelry, vehicles.
Oh my gosh.
And it ended up being a theft of $850,000. It was over $850,000. And when I read the article about him, I remember the end of the article, you know, he said yes, the loss of the money was disheartening, but he said the biggest thing that affected him was, he said, I thought they were my friends.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow, how terrible. We have with us today Sgt Dave Pollock with the Millersport Police Department, also with the investigative unit with the state of Ohio. If someone wants more information about senior safety, how do they go about it?
There's a lot of resources out there on the local, state, federal level. I know they can contact your office. You've got a great program. And I would also suggest that anybody could contact the Ohio Attorney General's office. Attorney General Mike DeWine has a Consumer Protection Bureau, and inside of that they have a division that focuses just on crimes against the elderly. And they can put you in touch with any type of resource that you need. They know all the local resources in your area. They'll also come out and if you have a seniors group, they'll come out and do a presentation for you on the different types of scams. But they're an excellent resource, and they can be reached at www.ohioattorneygeneral.gov or at 1-800-282-0515.
Sarge, I appreciate you being here and certainly found it fascinating and interesting for the last couple of weeks. I'd like to have you back one of these days.
Thank you, sir.
And I do appreciate, you know, the work you're doing at Millersport. I know you're a busy guy, being an investigator with the state of Ohio, but also dedicating, you know, a day a week in the Millersport, Ohio, to keep that community safe.
Thanks for having me, Sheriff. I appreciate it.
Glad you could make it. Well, the clock on the wall says we're just about out of time. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. And thank the folks at LSN Cable, Time Warner here in Lancaster, that go ahead and let us put this program on, and certainly the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy that produce this program each and every week. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. My number is 740-652-7252, or you can reach us on the Fairfield County Sheriff's website at www.sheriff.fairfield.oh.us. Until next week, same time, same place. If you're driving, buckle up. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.
Cotton balls, duct tape, spoon,
Needle?
thread, scalpel.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.